there was a fire in the engine room, and the entire engine staff was injured, burnt very badly, and one person was missing. And then during the search, it was found that he was dead. Also, the harassment or bullying on board, especially now that the girl cadets and girl officers are there on board. My time, I never sailed with any girl seafarer.
Love listening to Deck Tales? Be sure to smash that subscribe button so you never miss a seaworthy story, fascinating insight, or incredible behind-the-scenes moment. Climb aboard, stay shipshape, and catch every episode fresh off the boat the second it drops. Ahoy ahoy to all you smooth sailors out there, and welcome aboard the Deck Tales podcast. I'm your host and captain, Sammy Catlin, and this is where we dive headfirst into life at sea. From stunning destinations to unexpected storms, our guests have stories that will make you laugh, gasp, and maybe even shed a tear. Whether you're a seasoned sea dog or simply curious about life on board, Deck Tales is your boarding pass to a world of nautical narratives. To close out Season 3 of Deck Tales, my guest today is Mr. Ravi Chaudhry, a 34-year Merchant Navy veteran who sailed everything from oil tankers to giant oboe carriers. From navigating the seas before GPS existed to surviving engine room fires, storms and near misses at sea, Ravi brings decades of raw experience, wisdom and unforgettable stories from life on the ocean. So let's anchor up and dive right in. Hello Ravi!
Good evening, Sam. Or rather, good morning from India.
Good morning, yes, and I should apologise. I said Ravi. It's Ravi.
It's same, it's a proper noun. You can pronounce it the way you want it.
I got told off in the past for mispronouncing, Indian names, like my landlady's Kanchan, but it's Kanchan.
Kanchan, yeah.
I put a bit of an English inflection on it where it shouldn't be. But where are you calling from today, Ravi?
I'm in Chandigarh, if you've heard. It's a beautiful town north of Delhi, about 200 miles north of Delhi. Yeah.
200 miles. So you're nearly neighbours with, I say 200 miles is a big distance, but with Captain Sam's.
Oh, yeah, he's somewhere in Delhi region. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was after I spoke to him that I saw your profile and I thought I'd reach out because I haven't spoken to many people in the cargo freight, merchant navy industry, and his stories were such an eye opener. I kind of wanted more, if that's fair. I've got the bug for it now, for the stories, and I don't know if this is relevant to your experience. If you worked on any of these types of vessels, I'm pointing at a mobile oil freight for the audio listeners.
Yeah, I was on oil tankers. Oil tankers also. But that was a long time ago when I was a cadet. But later on I shifted to, like I told you, on oboes.
On to which one, sorry?
Oboes, OBO, oil bulk ore.
Oh, oil bulk ore. Let's say that 3 times faster. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. Oil bulk ore. I can't do it. That's too much.
Yeah. I mean, oboe for short, yeah.
Oboe for short. Yeah, not to be confused with the wind instrument. Oboes are... They're making a lot more noise. But so you've had a very long and, somewhat varied career, as most seafarers tend to do. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself or take us back to the beginning? It's your choice, my friend.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I joined in 1979-80. I was a, 19, 20-year-old young lad from a small town in Punjab, if you've heard of Punjab.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I land on a ship in Tokyo. It was a good size bulk carrier. And I didn't know anything about merchant navy. Just happened to, join there. And I like I always tell people, I joined when there used to be Columbus navigation. There was absolutely nothing on the ships. There were skilled seafarers on board who used their brains, intelligence, and, So that is the time I joined. I went through the transition, the modernization, the super specialization, and, total automation. And eventually 34 years I sailed and I quit in 2013 and 14, and a very happy man.
You got out way before the AI revolution.
Oh yeah, much before that. But my last couple of vessels which I took over, yard delivery, they had modern equipment, EC disc, and those things I managed to see in my last 2-3 years.
Yeah, there's obviously, it's not been fully implemented yet, but I think Captain Sounds was saying about like fully kind of, like not automated, but like remote steering from land on cargo. And that's something that it has to be 100% right. And, if that comes in, I guess you could do that if you wanted to pick up a few extra quid.
Yeah.
So you've been out of the game for 12 years now, but you're very active in the social media space, much like Captain Sands, but different, because he's still in the industry and he's
still on the ships, and
he's doing TikToks on the bridge, like dancing with his bridge staff. I see one that he did the other day. He was doing something with some of his bridge officers, I think, to the tune of the Pink Elephants song in Bombo. And I was like, wow, that took me right back. But we should say that that's not all he does. He does other content too, but he shows the fun side of it. What sort of content is it that you're putting out on social media?
I don't actually put in much of a content, but I'm more into, teaching, training, guiding, and some teaching stuff. It's an experience, like, the things they don't teach you in the books. Those kind of personal experience, and, how you handle things when you were there, and which you don't read in the textbooks or anywhere, So those kind of hands-on experience, which are
practical, learned advice.
Yeah. And basically, and all kind of advice. A lot of kids, they sent me messages, DMs, and various doubts, and, also the harassment or bullying on board, especially now that the girl cadets and girl officers are there on board. My time, I never sailed with any girl, seafarer. I mean, I sailed with the women who were the supernumeraries, someone's wife, but never with these young girls who are now working on board. And there are many incidents where they are having issues. So they every now and then they call me. I don't know. They find me approachable, and they think I can guide them better. So I get those kind of messages, and I try to guide them.
That's very nice. That's good. Yeah, but you said they think you are approachable. Are you suggesting that you're not approachable?
No, I am. I mean, there must be, something about my, the way I talk or my videos that they find, that, okay, this guy we can go and talk to.
It's all right. You don't have to defend yourself, Ravi. It was a stupid joke. I appreciate you joining me so late as well, because at the time of recording, it's 7:45 p.m. for me here in London. And of course, over where you are, Ravi, it's about 5.5 hours later. So it's in the twilight hours. But you said that's fine. This is the quiet time you get to yourself.
Because I'm a late sleeper and I wake up late. So, this is the best time for me time, all quiet, no disturbance, no phone calls.
Oh yeah, that's true. Apologies for running a little bit late today.
Absolutely no problem.
I bust a hump to get finished in time. I was running around in Imperial Wharf building beds for someone, and then I went all the way over to Dalston Kingsland to build 2 more beds after I'd first disassembled them, moved them into different rooms, and then it was hot today. It was it's spring, but you wake up in the morning and it's chilly. It's like 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. So you got your jacket you're bundled up, and by the time you finish your first job, you're back on the tube with your double jacket and your bag of tools, and you just have to apologise to people from the heat that you're radiating out. But I imagine the heat
Uh,
where we are is nothing in comparison to where you are.
But the temperature is still under control in my part of India. It's not gone crazy yet.
Not
And
yet.
we have been having a lot of showers every now and then. So it's in mid 20s, which is perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in the highest of highs, it can get to like 50.
Not really, maybe 42, 43. I mean, that will be probably 3 days in the season, but
Mm,
that's enough, to make
that
you
is enough.
crazy.
My ex partner was from or is from Kolkata, and when she was back
Oh,
home,
okay.
when she was at home visiting family, there was heat waves, various heat waves, and she messaged to
Okay.
ask me, "How's the weather?" Knowing that it was hot by our standards. And I would be
Yeah.
like, cool, we're having a scorcher. It's 28 degrees. And she'd be like, yeah, do you want to check the forecast over here, Sam? And I'd be like, oh my God, what am I complaining about? It's 52 or something
Yeah.
crazy. I'd die.
Yeah,
I think
sometimes
I'd
maybe.
die.
Uh-huh.
You've got over 30 years of experience, but
Yeah, 34 years. Yeah.
do you remember your first day at sea? What did it feel like stepping on a ship for the first time?
Absolutely, very clear,
Mm,
because I mean, like I told you, I didn't know what shipping was. I just landed on a ship, and that was the first time in my life I saw a vessel in Tokyo. I was joining with a couple of people, a captain's wife and his daughter, and there was a radio officer. And I just land on the ship, and I was too excited. I was very happy, and there were six cadets. During my times, we used to have a lot of cadets. I did four ships as a cadet, and there were five cadets, six cadet every ship. So and they were nice people, and I loved it, and I was very enthusiastic, kind of a kid who was running around everywhere, and chief mate liked me, the cadets liked me, so I had a good time. So my first day, I remember exactly. I mean, it was kind of not a very good day for the chief mate because he was expecting a reliever. So I
oh,
was standing down below on the jetty waiting for the gangway to come down, and I was wearing a very smartly dressed. I was wearing a overcoat, black overcoat, and a nice shirt, and good trousers. And he looked down, he said, "Oh, there the chief mate. My reliever is there down below."
I'm in good
And when I
hands.
come up, yeah, when I come up and he asked me, "Hi, who are you?" I said, "I'm the cadet." And the look on his face, because he came to know later that he's not being relieved in that port. Oh boy, I was like, a lot of trouble for me, but then he was nice. He didn't
That's not
say
your
much.
fault.
So that was my first day. Yeah.
So you did that first. That was in Tokyo, you said.
Yeah, in Tokyo, in I think Chiba or yeah, Chiba.
So that's quite some distance from where you're based, right? In Punjab at the time, to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
from having because that's quite landlocked, isn't it? Or is that
yeah. It is from
yeah?
from Punjab. I took a flight, went to Mumbai, which was Bombay that time, and from
Hmm.
Bombay took a flight. Of course, in the same flight, this captain's wife and daughter were there, and direct to Tokyo. And then I think by car or something, we went to the ship. I think a gap of 2 days or something like that. Ship was expected in 2 days. Yeah,
When you are a cadet going to these far-flung places like Tokyo, it all sounds very glamorous, of course, because you're
it
getting to
does.
travel the world. But the reality
Yeah,
is, you're on the ship most of the time, right?
most of the time. Yeah.
How much time did you get off in your first contract to go and explore certain places? None at all, or a
Ah,
little bit, or
we did get time because that was a bulk carrier first of all, and we were loading in two, three ports. I think Chiba, Kobe, and Yokohama or someplace. I don't remember clearly. But I remember one day the chief mate asked all 6 cadets to go out. That was like, I was like, wow, this life is great. 6 cadets. And then the senior most asked me, do you have any money in your pocket? I just looked and there was some $50 note in my pocket, which a friend of mine, our family friend, he had given me. I didn't know how much was $50 that time. So I just handed over that $50 to this senior most cadet. So that was kind of my contribution. So we went, ate something, had dinner, came back to the ship. Yes, we did get a lot of time in those days.
$50 back then must have gotten you some nice food and drinks, I'd assume.
It did. But just to let you know, my monthly stipend or salary, whatever you call it, was $72.
So you went in hard on that first outing.
Yeah.
Good memories though. Like, obviously memorizing the ports and how much money and all of these things it's always kind of the first memories that you kind of will never forget, right? Whether they were good or bad.
Right.
Everyone remembers the first day, but it's the stuff in the middle that sometimes gets a little bit muddled, right? The order in which it happens. It's only when you sit down and you try to piece it all together, because it happens so fast, you lose track of things. If we was to sort of compare you back in the day to who you've become, how would you describe the difference in your growth?
You're talking about young Ravi, naive, inexperienced. I wouldn't say irresponsible, but not someone who was street smart. And from a small town, landed on a vessel in Tokyo, like I told you, and I accepted people on face value. And probably that's what made me a popular person, I was young and bubbly and always willing to work, to carry out orders. Whoever said whatever, I was always there to, carry out the orders. And then, obviously, the sea made me a very responsible person. As you climb the ladders, you become more responsibility comes on your shoulders, and you become patient. Sea taught me patience, and I would say I'm a damn good judge of character, which only sea taught me, which helped me in my professional life as well as in my personal life. I could go to the ship especially when I became a master. I would go to the vessel 10 days. I will observe everyone, and then I'll have a meeting with entire vessel, talk to people, and in my head, I'll make a team of 6 or 7 people. Obviously the chief mate and the chief engineer, 2 department heads, are obviously in that team. But then I'll see with my own experience, with my own eyes, okay, these are the 4, 5 other people who are going to be my core team while I'm there for next 4 months,
so
6
like
months.
Your very own Avengers.
Yeah. So
the A-team.
A-team. So basically, from that young, innocent, naive Ravi, I turned out to be a person who was responsible, who had, so much of responsibility on the shoulders, and made me a disciplined soldier, if you like.
But having gone from, a place that has nothing to do with ships to becoming interested, do you remember why you got interested all of a sudden? Or what was the thing that kind of clicked for you as to this is a thing that you want to go and do?
It just happened, yeah. Like, there was nothing on the cards, and there was this, a person very higher up in the Hong Kong shipping company. He was a family friend. He saw me. He came to my house. He saw me. He came to meet my father. And he looked at me, what are you doing? What, grade are you in? What subjects? How much you are expecting? I was in 12th that time. And how much are you expecting? Physics, chemistry, math, English? Yes, sir. Are you interested in shipping, merchant navy? I had heard of merchant navy because one of my math teacher, his son used to be in the merchant navy when I was in the school. And I had heard that this is a very respectable profession and very highly paid in those days compared to the other jobs in India. I mean, remember, I'm talking about not even developing India. That was not even developing states, the India of the 80s. That time Merchant Navy had a very big name, okay, so-and-so is in the Merchant Navy. So I had heard of Merchant Navy, and there were a couple of other family friends also, but I had a very little idea what the job is about. What is it about? So this person asked me, I said, yes, I'm ready. I'm willing. And he put me on the ship.
You said that when he started asking you these questions, you were 12.
No, I was in the 12th grade.
Oh, 12th grade.
Okay. Yeah. You want to
So
join? Okay.
How old are you at the 12th grade? Like 15, 16, 17?
17, I think.
Yeah.
17 and a half, yeah.
At that point, Ravi, had you had any other ideas about what it was you wanted to do before he came and started filling your head with all these ideas? Engineering.
Engineering,
right, okay.
Yeah. Because I had taken the engineering subjects in 12th. Because in the 12th, in those days, you had to pick your subjects, what you want to do, the arts or engineering or science or medical or what. So if you're going for medical, you have to pick biology. If you're going for engineering, you had to pick mathematics.
Right.
So I picked up math, physics, chemistry, math, and English.
And you mentioned earlier that you joined literally at was it Columbus navigation era? I think Captain Sam said the same thing. Is that a widespread term, or is that just coincidence?
No, I mean, probably, I speak with Captain Sam's very often. He's one of my most favorite masters sailing right now. I mean, I often tell him that, Captain, although you are about a decade junior to me, but I would love to go on your ship and watch you, sail with you and watch you how you operate the ships and learn something, different. Yeah. And he gets very flattered, yeah. So probably I mentioned to him, this is my term, the Columbus navigation.
So he stole it from you.
So probably, or maybe, it's used by other people. I'm not too sure.
That's fine. Well, I noticed on your profile, on your Instagram profile, like with Captain Sam's, he's got that he's a seafluencer. You've got yours says hashtag Captain Steel.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Oh, there's a little story behind that. When I was a cadet, and I used to be very, very strong, physically. And I would do things, which other people could never do. I would open the, bolts or nuts or spanners, use things and, carry whatever, physically I was very strong. So there was another cadet with me. He was from Mumbai. So he named me Steel. So he only called me Steel. Hey, Steel. Till today, I'm in touch with him. We meet, once a year or once in 2 years, whenever I go to Mumbai or he comes here. So even when we are communicating, I call him handsome because he was in the movies also, very handsome boy. So I call him handsome and he calls me Steel. So that's how the name Steel came.
It works both ways, yeah. It's full of compliments. But so it's good to know that it wasn't like a title that you bestowed upon yourself and that it came from somebody else.
No. Yeah.
But, you say you were strong, and Captain Sam's is 10 years your senior, and that man, he's doing...
he's 10 years my junior.
Sorry, I mean, he's 10 years your junior, and he does a lot of heavy lifting. He's quite strong as well.
He does, yes.
Who would win in a fight between you and him?
Probably he'll win it.
Yeah, you think so? Because he's still in the game.
But I would love to see him when he's my age.
Yeah. When
what
you
he
were
does
in your
at
prime.
that time.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Fair enough. Well, if we can get a charity fight organised and it's for a good cause, who knows?
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm all game for it.
The Columbus era of navigation, that was when you had literally nothing tech-wise on board. What were the biggest challenges of learning the ropes in those days that you remember?
That time, I would say we learned basics of navigation, seamanship, and survival. Okay? We were not dependent on technology. There were barely any equipment on board. and there were manual calculations. Calculations were long and hard, and it's like just to get one position, you had to do calculations for what 40-45 minutes, and how you improve every day. You take a position, and you want to be the best, take the best position, and everything, and do better and better. And it was basically experience, and doing the same thing again and again, and without any help of any calculation, and strive to
GPS.
be the perfect. No GPSs
Yeah,
that
no
time.
help, no help from
No
GPS.
help, no help.
Yeah.
So, like they say, a practice makes a man perfect. We were dependent on your own raw skills.
Mm. Do you think that is something that's becoming lost in seafaring with the newer cadets? It's something you're trying to drill into them, that they need to learn the practical side of things before they can start to rely on the bells and
They
whistles of
should.
equipment? They should.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, over reliance on equipment can, you lose that hands-on experience, the eyeball navigation. Or like recently I watched a video by Captain Sams, where a pilot came on, he was explaining one of the case histories. A pilot came on board, they come with their own computer, they plug it in, and they have the ship's data, and all the charts are fed in. And he's bringing the ship alongside, and suddenly there was an alarm that you're too close to the boy astern, and he gave some action which was not supposed to be given. The master peeped outside the window. He saw that boy was far away. It was 50 meters or 100 meters from the vessel. The duty officer saw, everyone kept quiet. They did nothing. And the pilot just relied on his computer, and ship banged into the jetty, and they had an accident. And later on, they realized the data on that computer was not corrected for this particular ship. It was last vessel's data.
Oh,
So, the pilot, experienced person who's doing that thing probably 3 ships a day, 4 ships a day, or whatever, day in, day out, he just did not go to the bridge wing and just peep outside and just look at the boy. That is what I'm saying. Today's generation is lacking. Where you are so dependent on the equipment. Equipment is great. It saves time. It's accurate. Everything is nice, but you still have to have that.
use your eyes.
Use your eyes,
I
eyeball
mean,
navigation.
I said that to my girlfriend this weekend. We went to the theatre, and she was the one who'd booked the tickets, and so she was leading the way. When we got off the train and we was making our way there, I knew exactly where it was, but I wanted to see until I let her lead the way. And we've got ourselves on the straight. The road is just straight ahead now, and she's still following the
Right.
GPS. She doesn't know her left from her right sometimes. She'll hate me for saying this.
Right.
I was like, "You got it.
Exactly same.
Do you know where? Do you know where we're going?" She's like, "Yeah, I think it's just straight down there." I was like, "Are you sure you need that anymore?" She's like, "Huh?" I said, "I'm pretty sure that's the theatre, big building, with the word theatre
Right,
on it."
right there.
She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah." Sometimes just look
Exactly.
outside,
That's
look at your wing
exactly.
mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always tell the newcomers, compare what you see on the chart, that thing, see on the radar, and then go outside the window and see it visually. Compare all three things. It's the same structure, same lighthouse, or same thing, or same boy. Just make sure the chart, the radar, and the actual are the same.
They match up.
Don't
Yeah.
rely just on your radar or whatever equipment you have on board.
Good advice. Do you have a
Yeah,
memory that you can remember where it was the first time in your life you were thinking that this life at sea isn't for everyone?
definitely, because it's not a job. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
First of all, right? Because the loneliness, the rolling of the ship, the disrupted sleep, the different routines, everything was different. And people on land know about shipping only what they see on a particular video or hear from people. You need to go and live on a vessel to understand what sea life is. Like people if a friend of mine is working on land in an office, I know what kind of job he's doing. Wherever he goes to the office for 8 hours, comes back home, picks up, maybe, goes for a party in the evening or do whatever. That's his lifestyle. But people have no idea what shipping lifestyle is. They
There's
only
no
know
commute.
through, there's no communication. They don't know exactly what we do on the ship. And the worst part is, a lot of kids, they go to the ship, make very fancy videos, and that's misguided. Very, the people see it, especially the aspirants who want to come to the ship. They see those nice fancy videos, and the reality is something different. So, I would say shipping life is not for everyone, because when there's a comparison, then you lost it.
Absolutely.
That's what is happening today with the social media.
Don't
There's a
believe everything you see.
constant comparison with what you are doing and what your friends are doing ashore. They are partying, they are going for a movie, they're going for a dinner, and you are sitting alone in your cabin watching them have fun on your phone.
Yeah.
And you are comparing it. You forget at that particular moment, this is your profession. You are paid for doing what you're doing at that time.
And no one forced you to do it. It was your own decision.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gotta, you gotta lie in the bed that you've made for yourself.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But you got 1979 was when you first joined, and quick math was basically what 17 years until you became a master in 1995.
Yeah, about 16 years. Yeah.
Right. What did the moment mean to you personally, and how did that transition come about?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, that moment, I was waiting for a while to get command, but that particular moment, suddenly there are so many thoughts in your head. The first thing which comes to your mind is the buck stops here. You are all by yourself. You cannot go and ask your junior, how do we do this or whatever, because you're the one who's taking all the decisions. All the responsibility falls on your shoulders. So whatever you do is your own decision, and it better be right decision that you don't regret later. And a lot of responsibility, exhilaration, and I would say loneliness. Like they say, the higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. So at that particular time, you feel very lonely. And the other thing is, you are wary of the people around you, because they are watching you at all the times. They are judging you. Because I have seen that happening when I was a junior and I saw a newly promoted master. He was a chief mate with me. He got promoted. How is he behaving? When is he panicking? Why? When I become a master, I better have control on my emotions. Because people are watching me. As a boss, if I lose control, there's a panic on the ship.
Yeah.
So, those kind of, big thousands of, thoughts and responsibilities and emotions and everything was there in my head. But once, you handle a couple of things. I mean, on the same particular day I got command, I handled a couple of things. I mean, first thing, when the master left, we opened the cargo holds and there was a damage in the cargo. It was a expensive grain cargo we were discharging in Amsterdam. And we opened the cargo hold, there was a damage. So suddenly you go back to your school time, your notes. What do you do? Call the surveyor, damage control, protest letter, authorities, call up the office, insurers. And once you get busy in that, and suddenly you forget that you are a newly promoted master. I mean, that was what was going on with me at that particular, on the very first day when I took command. So all sort of things are happening. And by evening, I think I was a pro. And later, again, the test was when we were getting out, I dropped the pilot. Now I was navigating the vessel in the channel, getting out of Amsterdam on my own. And there's a duty officer with me, there's a helmsman with me, there's a cadet with me, and I'm all by myself, handling the vessel. That's the second test. But by the, I think, end of a third day, I was very confident and normal and at ease.
Like you've been in the job for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah,
that was kind of answering my next question, but it was like a baptism of fire in the sense of when you became
yeah,
a
yeah,
master, you got tested
yeah,
immediately. But
absolutely.
you dealt with it very professionally straight
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
Was
yeah.
there ever a moment when the weight of command truly hit you and you found it really difficult to hold together, or have you never ever let your emotions get the better of you?
Never. I never kind of let anything get out of control, especially like I told you, people are watching me. I am the boss. And if I lose control, let my emotions get the better of me, and things could go wrong in one way or the other, while the other guys are watching me and handling the vessel or handling certain situations. So yes, the weight of command, responsibility, it's always there. I mean, the day you don't feel that stress or weight of command, I think you should not be sailing that day. That
Mm.
has to be there at all the times. Be it engine problem or bad weather, someone sick on board, or some pressure from the charterers or cargo issue or some pump issue or whatever. You have to take the decision. But yes, you have a team with you. Discuss the problem sometimes. You call your top management, the chief mate, the chief engineer, whoever is on board. Talk to them. Okay, this is the issue. Let's tackle the things. But yes, the responsibility of command is huge.
Mm. And just out of interest, so you did 34 years at sea. What type of ships did you say you worked on again? You did the OBOs, the oil bulk,
Yeah, yeah, or
or yeah.
yeah.
And what else? Was freight?
So, I mean, when I was a cadet, I did four kind of ships. I did four ships, completed my sea time on four ships. The first was a bulk carrier. The second was a tanker. The third was a cattle carrier, used to carry buffaloes from India to Jeddah for slaughter. And the fourth was a general cargo ship. So these were the four ships. And then after I finished my cadetship, got my COC, my certificate, passed my exams, I directly went on a oboe.
Right.
So oboes at that time were very difficult ships. So from then third mate all the way to master, I was on oboes only. I mean, maybe one odd ship in between there was a bulk carrier.
You say that they're the most
And
challenging ones.
they are the most challenging one because, it's a oil, liquid cargo.
Hmm.
There's bulk, grain, coal, bauxite, whatever. And then there's ore, which is a high density concentrate cargo. So all three cargoes on the same ship in the same cargo hold. Just imagine you have loaded oil in the cargo hold. Okay, you go and discharge oil and you get the orders. In next 7 days, you're going to so and so port to load grain. And now just imagine the quality of cleanliness which is required in that oil cargo hold to carry grain. So it's any master or chief mate's nightmare, when a message like that comes, I mean, you are working day and night, 7 days or maybe 10 days. You ask the company, okay, I'll try my best. But, do you kind of, delegate work in a different way. You start, make two teams. You want work to go on for 24 hours. You make one team for 12 hours, the other team for 12 hours, and they are continuously around the clock. They're working and preparing the ship. And these ships were big. They were like 140,000 ton kind of ships, 150,000 ton.
How many
And
crew?
nine crew at that time, I would say probably 25, 30, 30
Yeah,
maybe.
so much work.
Yeah, so much work. And 30, mind you, not all 30 are working to clean the ship. 30 are they are the people who are in the galley cooking,
Yeah.
okay, preparing food. Then there half the people are in the engine room working on the machinery. You only have 8 or 10 guys on deck which are there for this job, but then you request the chief engineer to give you a couple of guys, and maybe you pull out one guy from the galley, a steward or someone, just to give a hand on deck, make your teams. At that time, it becomes a kind of a project.
Well, that answers my next question, which is about what makes oboes so challenging. let's go into some of the darker, dangerous stuff that's occurred over the years. You've seen a lot over the years, things such as, but not limited to, fires, deaths,
Yeah.
breakdowns, storms.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you walk us through a few of those incidents, and which situation would you say scared you the most, if that's possible?
Okay, the most scary I would say was a death on board. There was a fire I was chief mate that time, not a master. And there was a fire in the engine room, and the entire engine staff was injured, burnt very badly, and one person was missing. And then during the search, it was found that he was dead, and he was lying in the engine room, and his body was pulled out. And the ship was without power. So we just dropped the anchor. We were in the Red Sea, very close to Yemen. Yemen was one side and Djibouti was on the other side. And that was a scary moment. And the most scary was, when we landed these people ashore for help, my wife and my 1-year-old daughter, they were on board with me. So we decided to land them with the injured people so that they can be looked after by someone who's hale and hearty, not injured. So my wife looked after them, and then they were in Yemen. That ship which offloaded them, they offloaded them in Yemen, somewhere in some port where the local authorities, the agents, whoever, they tried to look after them, and my wife was there. But we were not getting, much news from that end. And I was quite worried and scared for, of course, my wife's well-being also. And eventually they managed to, the charters were very influential that time for that vessel, even the owners, they were Cargill International, a company called Cargill. So they sent an air ambulance and airlifted all these people. But there was a lot of drama in that country. People wanted to, they thought, they could kind of, hold the people for ransom.
In Yemen?
So there was, in Yemen. That was in 1992. And that I came to know only after I met my wife, went back home. So those were the scary moments. And then, yes, we had other issues of storm and kind of bad weather and engine breakdown. And sometimes, engine breakdown and there's a storm. What do you do? It's a very, very helpless situation.
What do you do?
Those kind of
Just
nothing. Basically, you wait for the engine. I mean, the engineers are struggling to get the engine moving. You are trying to maneuver the ship in such a way that she is not behaving too badly. But there's nothing much you can do because you lose the stairway. And vessel is at the mercy of the waves, and you try to kind of make the situation, the atmosphere better by showing to the other people that things are okay, you are in control, nothing can go wrong, and try to the things which are flying here and there, square it up and kind of tie the things up, make sure no one is hurt, and right instructions are passed, those kind of things. And there was another moment where, again, there was a fire, and there was a danger of it was a fire on the generator which we used to use for various works which are being done on deck, like cleaning or high pressure washing or chipping, painting, whatever. That generator got a fire, and we were nearing a port, and there was a danger of oil spilling overboard, from that generator, which is a big scare for any seafarer. So, and somehow we managed that. That was a scary moment also. So, there could be 1,000 other, incidents, which smaller and,
but
less significant.
Had a relatively, you would say, in your 34 years, not completely untarnished, but mostly incident-free?
I would say I was kind of happy with my sea life eventually.
Is there like a cap in terms of like if you are witness to, say, certain amounts of trauma, then you are paid off by the company. You're not required to work anymore.
Never,
No,
never,
there's
no,
nothing like that.
no.
There in some industries, there obviously are. Like if you're a train driver and you have someone, for example, who throws themselves in front, like a national rail train out in the country, if somebody does that, there's nothing you can do. It's all over the windscreen. And so 3 times, I think it is, if you have that in your life, then they pay you off, right? And you're no longer having to work. There's absolutely nothing like that in the shipping industry. Is that something you think
No.
that they should implement, or is it too far and few between?
Yeah, I mean, it should be because the kind
It
of
should.
trauma the seafarers go through,
Yeah.
but yes, sometimes you get some kind of bonus, for extra work you are doing, some charters, like I mentioned on an oboe, you loaded oil and now you're loading grain, and there's a lot of work happening.
The one they
Sometimes
push
the
you.
push you, but at the same time, charters will send, let's say, $3,000 or $2,000 for the staff who's doing this extra work on board, which is evenly distributed among all the people. So
Okay.
sometimes you get that kind of bonus. So, I mean, which is nothing great. If there are 10 people, it will be, something like $200, $300 per person for those, 10
Yeah.
days or something, which is not much.
Not much. Well, I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you when you was talking about being in a storm and engine failure. I don't know much about ship construction, but one thing I know a little bit about is, well, with cruise ships especially, how they're built to tackle storms is that they have a bit of a flex in the middle. Is that the same with
Yeah.
oil carriers?
Not really, not really.
Not
But
really.
I mean, yeah.
Because with the cruise ships, they tend to bend in the middle, right? There's a flex to them. So when a ship's out in a storm, it's kind of bending and, they call it hogging and sagging, I believe.
Yeah, that we have on the ships, hogging, sagging. I mean, it's a high tensile steel is there, so there's a
Yeah,
bending
yeah.
is there. But in addition, the cruise ships will have the stabilizers and certain plates welded on the sides, which are for correcting. I mean, they kind of go easy when the ship is rolling, and also rolling is not that harsh.
Yeah.
They are
And there's none
they
of
are
that on the oil.
stabilizers. No,
There's none of
no,
that on the oil carriers.
on other vessels, no. I not that I have seen, or on my ships I haven't come across. So, like I told you, like the
Why
ore
is that?
cargoes. I
Well,
don't
why,
know. I mean, probably,
if it works for one ship, why not apply it to the others?
yeah, probably, because there the cargo is human beings, the lives. So they don't
Yeah.
want to make them uncomfortable. And yeah, for that, and also probably, they'll have their routes, which will be, their weather routing, of course, will be much better. And they'll take the routes which are kind of, very friendly weather-wise. And but merchant ships are going worldwide, everywhere, ocean going. So it doesn't matter what weather, you're just going through it.
In much the same way as passengers on a cruise ship will be sitting down to dinner and the waiter's coming around with a flute of champagne on a tray, oh, it's okay, I've got the stabilizers on.
Yeah.
Who's to suggest that you wouldn't be walking around with a tray of champagne to give to your crew, right?
Yeah.
If you had stabilizers, then, everyone's happy. I just don't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah, true.
Is it an impossible task to
Yeah.
get them on carriers?
I don't know. I mean, probably they will lose that much capacity to load cargo. If you have
Oh.
stabilizers, you'll have extra tanks. There'll be stabilizer, permanent water inside, and that much extra cargo means that much extra money charter
Yeah.
is making, or the owner is making. So,
Of course, it comes down to profit margins.
yeah, absolutely.
That's the
And
reason.
like we're talking about the bad weather and all on when you're carrying high density ore cargo, that vessel is called the stiff vessel. There's something called stiff vessel and tender vessel. Stiff vessel is
tender vessel.
tender vessel. So tender vessel is when there's a nice light cargo, coal, or let's say grain or something. The center of gravity is very decent, and the ship is rolling very nicely. That's called tender ship. And when you have a ore cargo, ore concentrate, center of gravity is very low. So those ships are very stiff, and their movements, their even the roll is also very uncomfortable, and they are very jerky. So that's what we call stiff vessel and tender vessel. On a ore voyage, you won't have a very good sleep, because I mean, if the weather is bad, if the waves are there, ship will be very, very stiff and rolling like hell, very jerky. Yeah.
Yeah. What's would you say is one of the hardest decisions you've ever had to make as a captain?
Uh, I would say, okay, once there was a bad weather. I was going towards Japan, I think, somewhere near Philippines. Bad weather. Ship was, these big ships, when the weather is from front, if the waves are hitting from the front, their speed drops drastically. And there's so much of load in the engine, you have to reduce the RPM. Otherwise, it could be harmful to the
The
engine as
RPM?
well as the structural, yeah, RPM. And it's bad for the engine when there's a load on the engine, and also structurally, the vessel is, is not good to, go at a high speed. And the charterers had to make a particular date to reach Japan, and they were constantly pushing me to continue the speed, and that is a very tricky situation for any master to think about the charterer who's paying the money to the owner and we are being paid, or to look after the interest of the owner whose ship this is, and which ship could be, it could be a danger to the vessel, to the engine, to whatever. So that time the charters were, Captain, increase the speed. And chief engineer was going crazy in the engine room. He said the vessel, the engine is screaming, because, there's so much of load in the engine, it cannot cope up. So I said, sorry, bad weather, I cannot do anything. Speed is reduced anyway. These are big ships, weather is from front, and it's automatically speed drops. So I cannot do much. They said, no, Captain, more RPM. Doesn't matter how much fuel you
What is
burn.
what does RPM stand for, sorry?
Revolutions, the propeller revolution.
Yes, sorry, I did know that, but
So RPM, the vessel is normally, these ships are going at, whatever, 60 or 70 RPM, normal sea speed. But you can go increase it to a little more, depending on the whatever is the upper limit, but then you're burning more fuel. So normally the charter will tell you to go at a certain RPM, burning this much fuel. So you make sure that if they say 40 tons fuel every day at 60 RPM, make sure you are at 60 RPM and burning that fuel. Or at 60, if you're burning more RPM, more fuel, then probably, bring it down to 58 or 59 or whatever. So in this case, the charters told me, go full speed, whatever maximum RPM, don't worry about the fuel consumption. We want to reach there. And that's the time I put my foot down. Sorry, I cannot do that. I will have to, on the contrary, I'll have to reduce the speed. And then I get a phone call that, Captain, we'll pay you $4,000 cash once you arrive in Japan. That is for you, bonus. And if you reach on time, if you make that date, please increase. I put the phone down, and then I made all the log entries. Vessel's speed reduced due to bad weather, and log entry messages sent to the company, to the owners, to the charters, to everyone. And I reached whatever, half a day or one day late. But that was a very, very difficult decision to make, but I had to. I had to.
yeah, because if it goes tits up, as they say,
Yeah.
then they lose
Yeah.
all the cargo and the crew and the vessel.
Crew and the vessel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just got to take it, slow is fast, fast is slow. Are there any moments that really come back to you at night? I'm not trying to get you to relive anything too traumatic, it's completely your call. If you have or you don't, no.
I mean, there are always, moments like I would say, which is called near miss, right?
Near miss, right?
Near miss is something which could have happened, but it didn't happen. You got lucky. And, so those kind of moments are always there. Oh my God, what if I had taken so and so action? It was a close quarter situation, a fishing vessel or some other vessel. What if I had waited another 10 seconds? 10 seconds. I would have banged into this vessel or something, totally disastrous would have happened. So those kind of moments are always there in the head, and not one. There are maybe 2 dozen
When you say
close
always,
quarters.
you don't dream of these things on a nightly basis, but now and again,
No.
it comes back to you.
But when you go back in your cabin and you go to your bed and you think over it, the thought comes in your mind, oh my God, what if?
Yeah.
So those kind of things, yes, those. Nothing traumatic, but
No, but
that fear. Thank
definitely.
God, nothing went wrong at that particular moment. So I would say that kind of a situation, yes, yeah.
Well, I had a near miss the other day, actually. You just reminded me. Someone wanted me to put. They had. I walked into their flat and they had this like glass cabinet that was like longer than my arm span, and it was glass cased, and the back was open because what was inside this glass cabinet, Ravi, was crown jewel replicas like scepters. And swords with like gems encrusted all over it, and they wanted this thing mounted on a glass shelf on metal brackets. And I said, no, that's stupid. You need something to pad out, obviously, if you're going to put that much weight on them. You can't put a glass shelf on metal brackets with no cushion underneath.
Absolutely.
And you need to be able to close the back of this cabinet because it wasn't able to close because something inside it was so big. If the compartment closed up, it would have smashed and cracked the glass.
Absolutely.
At one point in the job, I know this isn't deck towers related, but bear with me. This is relevant to near misses. I was trying to balance it, move it. We was doing all kinds of stuff, and at one point, the cabinet that it was on, I pulled a little kind of like a doorstop type of thing out from underneath it, so I could push it back further. And as I pulled this thing out, the cabinet fell forward a little bit, and the glass cabinet on top of the cabinet slid towards me, and I managed to put my hands out and brace it and keep it from falling on top of me. We're talking thousands and thousands of pounds, and they were replicas, but they were damn good ones. But I woke up in the middle of the night, and it crashed on me, and it woke me up.
Yeah, it does happen. Yes, there are moments like that. Yeah,
I'm not getting paid enough to deal with that stuff. No, thank you. So you said earlier at the start of the call, you've experienced the full evolution of equipment at sea, all the techs and all the gadgetry, from sextants to GPS, from isolation to social media. What would you say has been the hardest transition that you had to adapt to over the years?
Ooh, I don't think it was hard to change from normal navigation to the latest equipment and GPSs. It became, in fact, the things became faster and more convenient. And, we moved from skill-based navigation to system-based navigation, right? So initially, you kind of relied on your skills, your sharpness, your intelligence, and you navigated. You felt, you were intuitive. Now, if I talk about the new generation versus the old generation, that is what they lack. They are relying, like we were talking about. They are relying more on the equipment, etc. And what they miss is, as a master, I remember, even as a chief mate, you felt the vessel. You felt the vibrations, the shuddering, the movement, the RPM drop. You were sitting in your cabin. Suddenly, the vibrations have become lower and lower. They are diminishing, and you jump. Something is wrong. RPM has come down. You jump up to the bridge navigation deck. You go there, and you look at the RPM meter, and you realize, okay, the RPM has come down. You call up the engine room. Anything wrong? Oh no, I mean routine, maybe some small little issue over there. So they lower the RPM. So what I'm saying is, these were the things which were kind of we were trained mentally. It's like muscle memory.
Yes.
You know something goes wrong. Your intuition tells you, or the movement tells you. Suddenly you're sitting, everything is normal, and ship starts shuddering. Obviously, there's something wrong, maybe bad weather, a bad wave, or something like that.
Did it feel a
So
bit
those
not
kind
immersive?
of
When I say like you've gone from having this muscle memory to basically having a machine telling you what to do, is it like it undermines you a little bit, right? It kind of do you feel like it almost emasculates you, or you feel like it's not the right way? It must take a bit of time to kind of accept that this thing is there to help you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say the new technology, the equipment, everything is wrong. It is amazing.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
a added help to you. But the new generation, they do not know about the other stuff. Their over reliance on the instruments and equipment is what is my worry. Like we people, my generation, like I said, we had skill-based kind of, technology or whatever you call. Now it is system-based. The systems are there, the equipment is there, and things are there. So the transition is good. There's nothing wrong. It's not difficult. Yes, certain things, of course, new stuff came which you didn't know, which you hadn't seen. The computers came. I remember computers came on the ships in 92 or 93. I was not a student who was taught computers in my school. At that time, I was chief mate. My cadet comes on board. He knows about computer,
Mm.
and he suddenly, does something, and this small word becomes this big. And I asked him, "What did you do?" He said, "Oh, sir, I changed the font, increased the font." I said, "What is a font?" "Sir, this thing is called font." I said, "Don't use that fancy language with me. Just tell me." Okay, I don't understand what font is. And now remember, you are a cadet. I am a chief mate, your boss. I give you 7 days to teach me everything you know about computers. That's how I learned computers.
Wow, that's a good
It was like,
example of
yeah,
transitioning.
it's a
Yeah.
survival. It's a survival. I mean, you have to, if you don't fit in, you leave. That transition, I can tell you, Sam, many people, the older generation, my seniors, who couldn't cope up. It's like someone trying to teach me cryptocurrency. It will go over my head. I don't understand C of crypto, right? So similarly, a master at that time, when he saw a fancy, colorful day and night radar, he was not happy with it. He had to learn 2,000 things. They had to leave sea. So that was the challenge in front of me as a young chief mate. I have few years ahead of me. I need to learn to survive. So transition was kind of, I had to go through that, whether I
Mm.
like it or not. But then as you go through it, you learn new things. It becomes interesting because things become easier, faster. Okay, you are not running around from the chart room to the your binocular to see what's happening. You just go on your radar, you plot a certain positions, and you look at the radar. You acquire that other ship which is coming. You know where she's going and how she's going to pass you. That makes life so much easier. But you better know the right stuff, how to do it.
One question I didn't ask Captain Sam's that I'm now just thinking of. What's the like drinking culture or like the party culture like on cargo vessels? Is there one?
There is. I
Is
mean,
it a lot?
there
Is it
are
a lot of drink?
restrictions. There are a lot of restrictions now.
Yeah.
If you compare the party culture back in my days when I was a cadet, fun. I mean, there was no control over the drinks. People were lying here and there. Some people, not everyone, except the person on duty. A person on duty also went after drinking.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We didn't know that time drinking and driving kind of a thing back in the 80s. Okay, so parties were fun. I mean, it was like, I mean, the best part when on my first ship, we had an orchestra of cadets. We were 6 cadets. There was one guy who was good at singing. He had a guitar. There was another guy who was a drummer. So he took one huge drum from the galley, from the stores, and he bought some sticks from somewhere in USA or wherever, and he made that drum. And then we had these bottle caps, the beer bottle caps or whatever, those metal caps.
Yeah.
So we made holes in those caps and
Tambourine.
put those caps in a wire. So it became that chick, chick, chick thing.
Yeah.
So the entire vessel is waiting. The party is started. Entire ship is waiting for the cadets orchestra to come and start, entertainment. It used to be so much fun, singing, games. People are, bonding together. Life was, so much fun. But slowly, the restrictions started coming into picture. During my time, there was
what about the young
ships,
cadet? The young cadet who taught you how to use the computer. Did you teach him how to party?
Yeah, obviously. yeah, I did. I mean, I was that way. That off time we used to have a lot of fun, mingle with the juniors and seniors, everyone. Yes, they would party because that became also one of my therapies when I became a master, because I had seen as I was climbing up the ladders, that a lot of people today, they are going crazy. I mean, people are going into depression. The young kids, they're going into depression and all these issues are happening. Why? Because the life has become so lonely. People are sitting on their gadgets, on their telephones inside the cabin and watching all kind of depressing or whatever stuff. Or the transfer of news is so fast that something bad happens at home. This small thing, it reaches you instantly. Okay, mom is unwell today. The guy is already into depression. My mom is unwell. You can do nothing about it. Those kind of things. During our time, there were no phones. There was no internet. There was absolutely nothing. We wrote letters, the snail mail. Agent would take the letters and take it home. I started a new thing, something which nobody had even thought of. I used to send my wife audio letters. We used to have those micro cassette recorders. I will have that micro recorder and I'm walking down.
What do they call them? Dictaphone.
Dictaphone. That was what it was called in those days. And I would, go around. I was a third mate, second mate, whoever. I was married that time when I was second mate. So I would take that with me and keep talking. This is happening, that's happening, beautiful weather. Today I had a fight with the captain and blah, 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 blah. End of the voyage, I will send that small cassette with the agent and mail it to my wife. She would listen to all those things. Those were the days when there was nothing. And ship used to be a fun place. When you finish your work, everyone is in the smoke room. You are playing darts, you are playing cards, you are watching a movie, you are reading a book. All the activities are happening. Out of 25, 30 people, there are 15 people sitting over there at any given time. That was what a party was like. But then slowly, companies came up with their regulation. Okay, no booze. Only some companies will have only beer and wine, and some companies, even the tanker ships, they will have total dry ship, no booze at all. People had problems.
Yeah. Well, that's why these rules came into place, because people obviously abused it too much. Well, I wanted to ask you just real quick: did your wife send you audio notes back?
Not really, because they never came back from the other side. Yeah,
it's like a one-way conversation with her,
right?
So that way you don't argue.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I also remember a very funny incident, when my younger daughter, she was, I think, 2 or 3 year old, and when the first cassette went, and she put it in the recorder, and they're listening to my, whatever I'm talking. And this, while I'm talking, my younger daughter, she's asking me something. She thought that was the real person talking to her. And she asked me a question, and the recording is going on and on and on. And eventually she got so upset. She said, "You're not even listening to me. You're going on and on." And everyone had a laugh, because she thought that was the real person talking to her.
How old was she at that time?
2 or 3, I think.
Oh, bless her. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely though. I like to hear things like that. When you said you started, so when you started doing the audio notes, was that something that other people started to do as well?
I haven't heard anyone. In fact, there was a journalist friend of mine. He used to write for a newspaper here. He's no more. God, give peace to his soul. So he once heard this story from me. He said, "Oh my God, I'm going to sit with you and make this story and write the story in the newspaper." But, it never happened. He had never heard of a thing like that. Yeah.
Has your wife kept all the tapes?
Oh, yes. I mean, even the letters. I became a poet. I started writing English poetry. I used to send poems to my wife. And a couple of poems I sent to a Seafarers magazine, which is published in India. It's called Sailor Today. And it was started by a ship captain. And now it's a very popular magazine. So I used to send these, stories and my poetry to that magazine. They used to publish.
No, that's amazing.
And there was one article also, which, the so-called UFO, which I saw on the ship.
So-called?
And I said UFO. I mean, it is still a mystery. What was that? It could be bioluminescence, phenomena, or it was in the middle of the night and it happened. So I sent this story after almost 8-9 years. I sent this story to the Sailor Today. They published it also.
So did you find out what it was, or it's still a mystery to this day?
No, still a mystery, because it was around 2:30 in the night. My wife was that time sailing with me. I quickly called up the captain. I said, "You come up." In those days, this was 1991. I was a second mate that time, I was a second mate. So I called up the master at 2:30. I said, there's something. And, the people on board had recently bought these handy cams, the movie cameras. So I said,
on the shoulders.
Captain, please. Yeah. So I said, "Captain, you just run up to the bridge. There's something I have to show to you." And same time I called up my wife, "Just run up, come." So both came at the same time, and we saw, this spirally, beautiful, colorful lights, going this way all around. In the center, there's a revolving, kind of a blinding searchlight. And I saw this thing slowly land at the sea. There was no fog. There was nothing. And then, that time, there was a lot of, the scare, the mystery, the, thing, or what if there are, aliens over there or whoever. And it came and then, landed and passed us like this on my starboard side. And we were in the Russian coast, coming from Japan, moving towards the USA. And it was amazing, but I wanted to send these, So
you weren't abducted? You weren't abducted?
No, finally we were not.
Okay, glad we got that one sorted.
And the funny part was that in the picture, the colored lights never came, those spirally going outward. Only the blinding light came in the picture when we saw the video later on.
Interesting.
So one of those mysteries. The captain never let me send these reports to the hydrographer department for whatever reasons. Otherwise, I wanted to, send these reports. At least, we cited something, some phenomena is there.
Was he like a religious nut and he thought they undermined his
No,
God
probably at that time, I never asked him any question. Probably he was wondering, that will put him into too many, a lot of paperwork and messages going. And in those, we are talking about the days when there were no emails, when there were no, absolutely nothing. In 91, 92, there was nothing on board. So
there's nothing on board, but you don't want to have to go into conversations about something that might make your life a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Put my foot down. No, I'm used to doing nothing, so let's keep it at nothing. You stepped ashore to become principal of a marine academy. How different was that, leading on land versus at sea?
Uh, I mean, you always feel out of the place. I mean, the first time when you think of, moving to land, you have sailed enough, you want to, come to the land and do whatever, settle down kind of, to the land life. And it's it's funnily, you don't feel at home when you're on land. Because, I mean, it could be a oxymoron, whatever you call it, You are on the ship, that becomes your home. That is your life, your lifestyle, everything. And you come on land, suddenly you realize you don't belong here. And then, from a very disciplined life where you have your rank on your shoulder, people don't question you. Your authority is on your rank. And suddenly you come on land, here you are dealing with youngsters and their parents who are equally involved with them. And they are worried because they are putting their money, they are wondering what this life is and whether their children can go through wherever they want to go through. So you are dealing with different kind of a setup. And here you don't throw orders. You are into counseling. You are into guidance and advice, a different kind of lifestyle. But it became fun. You learn, how to deal with the new lifestyle. But why I started this thing, because teaching and training was always very close to my heart. When I was a chief mate, I started taking classes of all the cadets on board. Saturday, Sunday, I'll give them off. Saturday, I'll set up a small paper, few questions. Okay, these are the questions. Tomorrow, Sunday, come to the bridge at so and so time, and there'll be exams. So, I would teach them, take their mark, give them marks, etc. So it was always very close to my heart. So I wanted to do something.
You'd done the groundwork before, that led you into it, and you kind of transitioned easier because you'd already sort of been doing it.
Right.
You also sort of went on to try and start a training center for kids to find work in the Merchant Navy.
Yeah.
That was in, I think you said 2015. Is that right?
2015, yeah.
Yeah.
When I quit. 1 year after I quit sailing, yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't work out though, Ravi. Why was that?
Actually, the work ethics I had two partners. The work ethics didn't match with them. In a way, there was one who was a seafarer, another one was a land person. So they were more into business. I mean, it's fair enough, they want to make money also, with whatever they do. But my concern was of teaching and training the child, shaping up the career of the child and giving this child a direction and kind of help him go to the ship, join a vessel. But these people were not bothered about that. They just wanted their money. And after that, whether they get the ship or not, whether they are capable or not, they were not bothered. So I kind of took out one batch, managed to put them with whatever, goodwill I had in the Merchant Navy. There were a lot of friends who were, working in the shipping industry. So managed to put them on the ships here and there. Not all of them, but a couple of, guys couldn't make it. So I eventually thought, this is not where I should be, working.
Yeah.
And I started online coaching, teaching, training, free of cost, of course, which I'm still doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you've not tried to do another training center? That ship has sailed?
No. Once I was a principal in a marine academy. That was a short time while I was sailing. I was thinking of leaving sea. So 2004 till 2006, I was in a. Have you heard of Rajasthan?
Rajasthan.
In India? Yeah, the state of Rajasthan. There's a very popular city called Jaipur.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Jaipur.
Okay, so I was in Jaipur for 2 years, and there was a marine academy. I was a principal there in the marine academy. So I worked over there, but somehow the marine academy closed down, and I was back to sea in 2006 for next 7-8 years. I was sailing again. So after that, like in 2015, like I said, I wanted to do it in my city here in Chandigarh. It didn't work, and that was the end of it. And then in 2016, I joined this NGO for women and children
Oh,
next year.
yes. Okay. So let's talk about. I had another question I was going to ask, but let's talk about the NGO. The NGO
Yeah.
was on my list of questions, but you've just segued into it beautifully. So what is that about, Ravi?
Yeah, it's about women and children, empowerment of women. This NGO is very old. Actually, it was started by India's very first prime minister in 1948. He thought, the women and children, women of this country must be empowered. They should, be given good coaching and, the education, and they should work on their own and be financially independent, etc. So
That was in the
NGO
40s.
in the 40s.
So that's very progressive by comparison.
Yeah. It is in those days, he had a vision, the Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. So, and there are about, I think, 22 branches all over India. I'm looking after the Punjab branch. So the entire state I'm looking after, and it's got everything, all the everything to do with women and children, be it education or bad marriage or wife beating or child abuse or marital discord or any other issue. So we deal with everything, and then we also run a crèche for the children of the laborers, who go to work every day, and their children, they are with us, and we, look after them whole day and give them meals and basic education, small children. And we have vocational training centers like beautician's course or, stitching and tailoring course, we keep doing new things, and also current topics, whether it is pollution or drug addiction. So we keep doing different things at different times. But idea is to empower women, make them understand that once they are financially independent, they are better off.
That's amazing. What's the name of the NGO?
It's called Indian Council of Social Welfare, Punjab branch. ICSW.
Amazing. It sounds like a full package. You've got everything. You want their creche, meals, classes, counselling. It's like it's an amazing service.
Yeah, we have a counselling center. There are 2 girls which are employed by the government. I mean, these are certain projects which are government aided. We come under the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare. So we take these projects from them, so they fund it. And with those funds, we employ the counselors, and then they look after the issues or whatever. Yeah.
I can't imagine the people that turn up to this place, this NGO you're working at, to be particularly unruly. I imagine they're quite well behaved, most of them.
Yeah. We never have issues over there, because they are basically the needy people, the people who have a fire inside. They don't have the resources, but they want to do something in life. Those people are the most disciplined people wherever you go.
So they're the ones you want to, give your time to,
Absolutely.
right? Because they won't want to waste the opportunity. Did you, in your career, Ravi, did you ever have to discipline someone in a situation where it felt uncomfortable, emotions were running high, like you kind of didn't want to have to do it, if you know what I mean, but it was needed?
Yeah, many times.
Many times. There's too many examples.
You always, so many examples. You always find people, who are the rebels or who want to talk or create problem at the wrong time. You have some kind of a crisis on board, or some, too much work is going on. Everyone is working and working extra hours, and this one person who probably in front of everyone else, he gets emotional. So you learn to handle these people. Yes, you discipline them, but like I always used to say, my idea of disciplining a person is not to insult him, but to guide him and coach him. So whenever a situation like that is there, okay, how would I handle that person? Probably I'll tell him, okay, I understand you have a problem. Can we talk after a while? Let us go through this, and I'll definitely listen to you. Maybe later on call him to my cabin and tell him whatever he did, you are a wonderful person. You are, I know you are hardworking, you are good, your reports are good, whatever. But what you did publicly was not really, which is acceptable under the code of conduct. And that, when the person is alone with you, the temper is down, he'll forget, because that person probably is more vocal in front of when he has an audience. He wants his voice to be heard. Sometimes it does happen. So you are basically not hitting the behavior. You're not attacking the behavior. You are attacking the emotion, basically. You are handling the person's emotion, I would say. So yes, many times it happens. And I always used to say, pat the back publicly and kick the ass in solitude in private. Idea is not to insult the guy.
Back the back?
Pat the back publicly.
Pat,
yeah. Pat the back. You have done a good job. You are a good person. Let everyone else also know it. This person will feel so good. But
That's
when
nice.
you want to reprimand him, you don't want to insult him in front of everyone. Call him to your cabin when he's alone. Reprimand him. Tell him where he went wrong, what he should not be doing, what is expected of him. He'll be perfect.
Very good advice.
And I never had issues ever in disciplining people.
Very good. Do you have any superstitions, Ravi, at sea or on land?
At sea, no whistling, because one of my masters told me, if you whistle, you're attracting bad weather.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So that's one superstition. Other superstition was, every time if I completed this vessel and I love this vessel, this is a good vessel, I would love to come back. When I'm going back, I'll kiss the hull, and once I am leaving the vessel, I will look back at the vessel. I don't know who told me. Once you look back at the vessel will call you back. So I always followed that ritual on a vessel where I was very happy, which went, smoothly. So I would always kiss the hull while getting down the gangway, kiss the hull. And then when I'm in the taxi or wherever, or the boat, I'll look back and probably wave, and she will call me back. And I did a couple of ships like that, back to back, 3 contracts, 4 contracts.
It's like a relationship, isn't it? Ships are always
a relationship with the vessel
as a woman. Yeah. So you're kind of like, bye, sweetie. I'll see you soon.
The other thing which I always believed in was lady luck. Whenever there was any family sailing on board, the atmosphere was always very nice and happy atmosphere. So always found lady luck is always favoring the vessel. Other thing was, when you see the albatross, that means bad weather. If you see the dolphins, good weather. So these were all kind of superstitions which were there.
Why is the albatross bad? Or why is the dolphin good? Is there a reason?
I don't know. I don't know. They were probably, dolphins are always considered as a sailor's friend, and when they are kind of going with the vessel, and they are playing with the hull and with the waves, they are with you. You see them and you actually can see them smiling. But albatross, why? I think because mostly you see the albatross around the coast of when you're coasting Cape Town, South Africa. And South Africa, it's more or less always very rough, because all the fronts are there, bad weather is passing here and there, and you see these albatross. So they are probably related. I don't know why, but that's the reason. You see a lot of albatross at that coast.
Side note, an albatross is considered bad luck to seafarers primarily because, according to maritime folklore, they are believed to carry the souls of dead sailors. While simply seeing an albatross was often viewed as good luck, injuring or killing one was considered a terrible omen that would invoke the wrath of the sea and curse the vessel. These birds are often seen as guardians, so bringing good luck to the ships that followed across the vast ocean, and the superstition was famously cemented in Samuel Taylor Coleridge's 1798 poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, where a crew is cursed after a sailor kills an albatross. The sailor who actually killed the bird is forced by his crewmates to wear the dead bird around his neck as a sign of his penance, making it a metaphor for a heavy, unavoidable burden. End of side note.
I always tell people, now I can laugh about it, but at that time it was annoying and, very ridiculous. It's like, you're having a shower in bad weather. You're holding on to the railing and the shower, stream is coming on your head, but that stream is also going port to starboard and you are trying to, align your head with that and you're holding on to the railing with the other hand, you're, applying soap on your body. It's really annoying and, very that kind of a situation, but now I can laugh about it. That's all.
That's not your life anymore.
Other thing is, when you're eating food in bad weather, and especially if your plate is full, sometimes, some people fill up the plate so much with curry and stuff that, you have to kind of balance it with the roll. Otherwise, everything is falling here and there, and it becomes very annoying at that time. Now, later on, you can laugh about it, So
you need less curry and more like foods in like wraps, because it's easier to hold and stuff.
Solid food, Solid
food, or just get some stabilizers.
Absolutely. Or go to a cruise ship.
Yeah. Ravi, I could speak to you for a lot longer, but unfortunately we've come to the end of the call. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And I just want to add that why I joined the social service, the NGO.
Yeah.
It runs in the family. My father was a freedom fighter, social worker, politician in that order, and it runs in my blood. So every time I used to go to the ship when I was a third mate, second mate, I always thought I will do charity work in my life. And when I was a third mate, I joined the foster parent plan, Rhode Island in USA, and I adopted 2 children, a girl from Colombia, a boy from Senegal, and I supported them 3 years. And I used to, always advise the cadets and the juniors, whenever you start earning money, some money you must put in for social work. It's your social or moral responsibility in life, to do something for the others. And probably that brought me into this NGO work, which is very soul satisfying.
That's incredibly noble of you, and it's a very lovely message to leave on. I don't want to cap off with a stupid story after that, because that just kind of ruins the sentiment a little bit. But what's next, Ravi? Have you got? Are you back to the NGO in the morning?
Yeah, nowadays, things are easier on the phone. Half the stuff you can do on the phone, the messages and other things. But yes, sometimes you have to go and personally attend certain matters when you're dealing with the government or other things. But otherwise, it's not that a disciplined kind of a thing. I don't have to go there every day.
Well, as you said, you're up late and you're going to bed late, so you'll wake up late. But it's nice to get out of the house once in a while, Ravi. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Yes. And before we leave, I want to tell you, when you are laughing, you resemble Richard Gere a lot.
Wow, I've never had that before. I've never had that before. My mum used to think I looked or had mannerisms of Ben Stiller, and
okay.
My friends when I was in primary school, I think, or in secondary school, used to think Jim Carrey. But no way. I used to
Ben Stiller is funny.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ravi. It's been an absolute honour to have you, and all the best with all your future work, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Definitely. Thank you, Sam, for calling me. It's been a wonderful evening, and good luck and God bless.
God bless. Thank you, Ravi. See you later on. Take care.
Yep, sure. Bye.
Bye-bye. So there you have it. That wraps it up for this episode of Deck Tales. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've been entertained by the tales of laughter, camaraderie and the occasional stormy sea, then don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment. There are lots of other shows out there to compete with, so if you are enjoying Deck Tales, why not help us out by going over to Spotify or Apple and dropping us a 5-star rating. This will boost the show's visibility and help to attract new listeners every week. Before I sign off, if you'd like to share your own stories for future episodes, then I'd love to hear from you. Simply get in touch over the socials, because after all, the best stories often come from our listeners. As we navigate through the waters of life, remember to enjoy the journey as much as the destination, as well as those you choose to share the adventure with. I've been your Captain Sammy Catlin. Until next time, fair winds, smooth sailing, and may your adventures be as unforgettable as those shared here on Deck Tales. Bon voyage!